what I wanted to talk about is the current state of morality as far as I understand it. Now, I talked about it in the previous videos how the cavemen were, vicious against people out of their tribes. And then I talked about how religion came in and God made all the decisions about morality. Everybody believes that God has his own morality. Of course, it's a little mixed up there too. And we became a culture of religion, and first family, then religion. And now we're going into an international culture of morality, which it's necessary for us to survive in the long run and in the short run, so that we will have a morality that is incorporating not just all of humanity but all of the earth. This is the current state of morality of what we're looking at. One thing that people evolved from about 250 years ago was from the religious morality into what is a kind of a democratic morality. And it was written about in the time of the American Revolution. All men were born endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then they wrote the Constitution, which says that, in order to form a more perfect union and provide for the common defense and establish justice and also to promote the general welfare and to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. And, and also, what's the other thing? The civil peace. All these things is why they created a constitution, which put in what they had as a goal morally for the government to be able to run. But one of the things that they talked about, of course, was the provide for the common defense. Everybody agrees on. Establish justice. That's an ongoing process, of course. Promote the general welfare is one that seems to be debated constantly throughout our history of our country and the West. And that is to say that certain individuals morally feel that we have to help everybody, including the poorest and the least among us. That's a moral principle. It's written into the Constitution. It's in the Bible. It's in the Gospels. It's in all the religious things. It essentially means that all people need to have at least a minimum standard of living that can be helped by the larger society. And that seems to be where a lot of the modern debates about morality exist, is that promote the general welfare thing. There's two sides to this. One would be what I call the Nietzschean view, which is, Friedrich Nietzsche, who seemed to struggle with this for a long time. Why should we help poor people? Why, what makes it possible in our world today to live whenever there's poor people? And he was a little worried about that, and he came up with a conclusion that you don't help the poor people. You don't do that. What you do is you help the wealthy people. You help what they call the Übermensch, the overmen, the guys who are in charge. They take charge because they have a higher ability than the rest of us. And therefore, he, in his opinion, and in the opinion of all Republicans, I think, is that you help the wealthy people, and they are the ones who make the society stronger and greater and advancing into the future with high technology and greater economic wealth and so forth. As the way that Ronald Reagan used to say it is that a rising tide raises all boats. And there are other sides of the question, is to say that certain people are weak. Certain people are born in a situation that is less fortunate, and it's just from the start they have less ability to be able to thrive in the society, whether it's from one generation to the next, or whether it's people who just have a physical or mental or even spiritual, if you want to say, weaknesses. And in the larger society looks at these people, and they can deal with them in two ways. One is, of course, they can help them. They can offer SNAP payments. They can offer, housing projects. They can offer scholarship money to help raise the poor people up. Then there's the other side of the thing, is they say that it's their fault, they're weaklings. Then we have to help the wealthy people, the guys who are in charge, and there's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy on this thing. If you're wealthy and strong and have a high political position, of course you're going to make a lot of the decisions regarding the economic well-being of the general welfare. See, this is where a lot of the controversy in the world comes today. And we talk, as I talked about before, liberty, which is written into the Constitution too, is something that everybody wants for themselves, but doesn't care about other people's liberties. Most people only want liberty for themselves. And if you follow the Nietzschean viewpoint, which ran from Nietzsche, and then there was Ayn Rand, and then there's the libertarians, they all think that the concept of a moral government, a moral world, is not to help anybody. Just have everybody help themselves and let the chips fall where they may. That is the modern morality, the current day morality that's being fought out. It's the old-fashioned morality, which is, Christian, which Nietzsche really disliked. He said God was dead. And that old-fashioned morality says that whatever you do for the very least of my brethren, so you do unto me, said Jesus. So he wants you to go, and if he thinks it's a problem if you have a great wealth. He says it's more difficult for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to walk through an eye of a needle, which, they made all kinds of lawyerly excuses for that quotation from the right. But what it seems clear to me is that's the old-fashioned morality, to say help the poor when you can and if you can. The current morality, which seems to be very popular, is that we have to help the rich. The rich people get all the breaks, they get all the power, and with that power and that money, they can develop greater technology, greater economic forces that will rise everybody up, and everybody else will just ride in their wake. So that's the current argument in morality. Now I'm going into the next phase of morality, which this should have been a third video. But what is the most modern morality? Because things change fast, I'm telling you. Things change fast. The modern morality, I think, would be more like in the internet. We see that it's become tribal again. Tribal, and the reality of the world is muddled, which means that we don't really know what you see on TV or what you see on the internet, the computers, or your cell phone, or whatever you see. We have no idea about whether or not anything that we see on a screen is true. It could all be fake. And I see it all the time. I see things all the time. And they do it to you just to tease you along. Like I saw these pictures of these giants that were walking along in the... And the scary part about this is that some people have absolutely no filter to understand history and what is reality. I mean, that's the funny thing about it. They've created an artificial history that is only through the internet. And with this type of power and this type of technology, it becomes very difficult for people to understand what is truth and what is reality. And so this is what is the new morality that will grow out of this? I think it may just, we're in a phase right now where one of two things can happen, of course. Maybe more than two things. I'm sure I don't know everything. But I have two possibilities that might come out. One is that we as a species, internationally, when we communicate at a greater and greater ability, that means even across language barriers and so forth, we all become into one neighborhood and one tribe again. And when that happens, then we can have like an Ubermind that is created. That is the well-being of all humanity would be clear to everybody eventually, because everybody communicates things back and forth. And the other possibility is that nobody will have the ability to know what is true, and there may be, and they're talking about this lately, the AI, the artificial intelligence, which comes in and manipulates everybody. So I don't know what the modern morality is, but you have to have goals, right? The goals are important for morality. Like I said, help the poor. I believe there should be. I believe that modern society, this is me talking, I'm preaching here now. Modern society does have the ability to help every human being on the earth with a minimum standard of living. And that should be an aim and a goal of artificial intelligence and governments and everywhere around the world. There should be a minimum standard of life for every human being on the earth. The second thing is, of course, and this is something that some people don't like, but we have to think about the health of the nature, health of the environment. And that is because with the massive amounts of people and all the waste that we create, we are hurting the very biological internet, the biological integrity of the earth, which is only going to come back around and bite us on the ass. I mean, if you have any sense at all, if you poison the well, it's not going to look good in the future. And that's just common sense, but some people just don't want to hear it. Some people, I guess some people just still live in this world where there's magic, They don't believe anything human beings do really matters, that there's a magical world. So my viewpoint is that I think that we can make a better world, actually, all the way around. It's not just because it seems a little confusing and a little difficult. That doesn't mean that we can't do it. We can do it, and I think we will. Otherwise, we're doomed.